Focusing on humility quite a bit as we've been focusing on Philippians chapter 2, verses 3 through 4, and also looking at Christ's humility. And now we're going to be looking at Christ's exaltation as well. But as I think about humility, I also think kind of the opposite, and we think of the opposite of humility as pride, arrogance, and so forth. But there's also another aspect that is the opposite of humility, and that is false humility. And I really was thinking about this. What really is false humility? I like how A.W. Tozer put it. He said, I have met two classes of Christians: the proud who imagine they are humble, and the humble who are afraid they are proud. And when we think, that second part, the humble who are afraid they are proud, that's really true humility. And there is an aspect of humility in there. But he goes on to say this: there should be another class, the self-forgetful, who leave the whole thing in the hands of Christ and refuse to waste any time trying to make themselves good. They will reach the goal far ahead of the rest. And I think that does have an aspect of humility. It's not thinking of yourselves. Rather, as Paul put it in Philippians 2, verses 3 through 4, do nothing from selfish ambition or conceit, but in humility count others, not focus on yourself, but count others more significant than yourselves. Let each of you look not only to his own interests, but also to the interest of others. We also know, James and also Peter said as well, that God opposes the proud, but gives grace to the humble. We also know that it is said, humble yourselves under the mighty hand of God, and in due time he will exalt you. Now, of course, our desire is not, hey, yeah, I want to be exalted, so I'm just going to kind of put out this false humility here. No. God knows our hearts. God knows our genuineness. And that is where humility is drawn out of. Our genuineness of really wanting to count others more significant than ourselves, of really lowering ourselves and serving others, of really putting others above ourselves. And there are different areas where we can have false humility. Paul laid out one here in Colossians 2:23. I'll back up just a little bit here. He's saying, if with Christ you died to the elemental spirits of the world, why, as if you were still alive in the world, do you submit to regulations? Do not handle, do not taste, do not touch, referring to things that perish as they are already used according to human precepts and teachings. These have indeed an appearance of wisdom, or you can also say an appearance of humility, in promoting self-made religion and asceticism and severity to the body, but they are of no value in stopping the indulgence of the flesh. So there is an aspect of false humility, and that is kind of the pious religious attitude we may have of trying to do these religious things. I'm not trying to do this. I'm trying to do this because I need to do this in order to be religious before not God, but before man. So they see that they think that I am a religious and holy person. But again, God judges the heart. God knows the heart. And to add or really subtract from God's word in order to pursue this false humility would really not look well in the eyes of God, because he does judge the heart. Obviously there are some other areas of false humility as well that we need to be careful about. One is, in we've probably all done this before, but the self-deprecating. That is trying to put ourselves down because we want others to lift us up. We want others to say, no, it's not so bad. You're not that bad, or whatever it might be, to get sympathy from others. Or to list accomplishments in kind of a quiet type of way because you want others to see what you have done. And obviously, you know your own heart. You know where you might have an area of false humility. And God knows my heart. I really need to search my heart. And say, Lord, is this an area where I'm not genuine? Is this an area where I really want others to lift me up instead? And if so, Lord, I lay it down at your feet. I truly, genuinely want to be humble. Not for the sake that I want to be exalted, but as Paul said, so that you, Lord, are glorified. Well, thank you for joining me.